Well, practice has been pretty good. Players seem to have pretty good attention and focus on what they're doing, what they're trying to do. This is a difficult preparation on both sides of the ball because of the way they play on defense is a little different. And, their offense is very multiple, and they do a good job of taking advantage of whatever you do on defense. So, our players have been, really good. I talked to the players afterwards about you got to be accountable for your actions because there's always a day of reckoning. And if you do the right things, you have the right effort, you have the right habits, you do the right things, you have the right words, you're accountable to everything that you do, all right, then your reckoning is always good. When you don't do that, sometimes things don't work out so good, when the reckoning comes. So, this is probably the first big game that we've had here for now like a year and a half because of last year's COVID. I know we've had a couple home games, but this is an SEC game at home for the first time in, a couple of years. And I hope our fans are excited about it as our team is. We're playing a really good team. They got a lot of really good players. They do a great job in execution, and it's going to be a real challenge for us. And, we played down at Florida. I mean, it was really, really tough on our team, and you could tell. So, hopefully we can make it a little bit that way for their team. And, we're just excited to be playing in a big game at home in our stadium against a good team. And hopefully our fans, our players, and everybody will have great passion and enthusiasm, for this game. This is college football, mental health week. We're part of the Helensky for Hope group, always have been very, very supportive of the family and the cause. So we're proud to be a part of that awareness this week as well.
Okay, Coach, we'll start with Nick Kelly in Tuscaloosa. Nick?
How important is it for the play-action game to be effective for what you guys want to do offensively?
Well, I think play-action is always a good thing. I mean, it's got to tie into the running game. And I think, when you can draw the defense forward when you're trying to throw the ball vertically, it's always a positive thing. I think when they drop more guys, it gets a little bit more difficult, but I still think it's got to be a big part of what we try to do.
Go to Michael Casagrande.
Yeah, you've talked about the mismatch your tight ends have created defenses this year. How would you say your defense has managed opposing tight ends?
Look, I don't think, I think the couple times the tight end has caught balls against us at Florida, and in the last game, it was because of our sort of lack of execution, not necessarily because the guy, mismatched somebody physically. Obviously, when we played Florida last year and they had Pitts, that was a mismatch, and they took advantage of it, and we didn't do a very good job on him. But we haven't really had a guy like that this year. Last year, Ole Miss's tight end was a problem for us. So they use the tight end effectively. They play four wideouts sometimes and use a receiver like a tight end, and he's very effective. So we're going to have to be very aware of, where that particular guy is relative to their play action passes.
We'll go to Aaron.
Lane Kiffin comes from a football family. I wondered, did your career ever intersect with Monty Kiffin at any point? And when it came out, what did it do to football? How inventive was the Tampa 2 that he was sort of kind of co-credited with?
Well, I think, Lane's dad was really instrumental in a lot of things. I remember, I think he was at Nebraska way back when I first started coaching. I can't remember if I was at West Virginia. I think I was at West Virginia, and we went and visited him, and Pete Carroll was actually with him at the time. But he was really the first coach that I remember that actually coordinated front and coverage. Where you overshifted the front one way and balanced the coverage back the other way, and tied it together in a way that it was very, very effective. And then he gets a lot of credit, when he was in Tampa for, Tampa 2, which I think he was the first person to do that, and it caused people a lot of issues, for a long time. So I always had a ton of respect for, Lane's dad, Monty. He visited here a few times when Lane was here, and I just think he's a wonderful man. And, his legacy as a coach is not necessarily because he won a lot of games or was a great head coach, but what he did to impact the game was probably as significant as anybody I know.
Go to Charlie Potter.
Hey, Coach. Last year, you said you felt like you were always one play behind the Ole Miss offense. Just what's key in practice this week to try to combat that this time around?
Well, I think the players got to get lined up. We can't do too much. Last year we were a young group. They were going fast. We had trouble getting lined up. We were out of position a lot of times because we're out of position. We missed a lot of tackles. So I think that, we have to play fast. We have to get lined up. Everybody's got to be able to focus on their responsibility because these guys are really good at executing what they do. So you have to be really good on defense at executing what you do, and making mental errors because you're not lined up correctly or don't have good communication is something they'll take advantage of it every time.
Okay, we got two more. We'll start with Mike.
How much similarity do you think there is between what Lane does now and what Ole Miss was doing 6, 7, 8 years ago under Hugh Freeze?
I think there's probably some similarities, but I think this is pretty unique in terms of, kind of what they've put together, how they do it. There's some similarities to, spread, but there's also they run the ball. They run the ball and they run it effectively, and they're really good at it. And then they're really good at taking advantage of anything you do to stop the run. They're going to throw RPOs or play action passes to take advantage of that. They have man beaters when you play man to man. So it's very well orchestrated offense, but it's also not only well conceived, but it's also very well implemented, in the game to take advantage of what the defense is doing.
Okay, we're going to finish with Tony.
Yeah, both Bill O'Brien and Bryce Young have both talked about building that mutual trust. And I just wanted to know, what did Bryce do maybe over the offseason or just during practice to initially just give you that trust in him and kind of build that up?
Well, I think that anybody trusts anybody because, first of all, they respect what they do. They're accountable to what they do. They do what they're supposed to do. That's as a person, as a student, as a player on the field. And that's how you develop respect for someone as a competitor and as a player. And then when they do that over time, that's what, you develop trust that the guy's going to do what he's supposed to do because he's done it over and over and over again. And I think that's how his teammates, develop trust and respect. You could go down a list of guys on our team. They probably would never tell you if you ask them, but they all know who they can trust that's going to run the right route and catch the ball at the right depth and all that. And they probably know some of the guys that they can't trust to do that. And it's because those guys have not been accountable to do it the right way on a consistent basis. So then the result is kind of the reckoning based on what happens when you go perform, which is every game that we play. So I think that's how anybody gains trust, that you do things the right way over a long period of time, and people come to find out, hey, you can believe what this guy says. He says what he means. He's going to do what he says, and he'll go out and execute it every day. And that's how you develop trust. I think that's how anybody develops trust.
All right. Thanks, Coach.